Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajim. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad. Kama sallaita ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima. Innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad. Kama barakta ala Ibrahima وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربنا زدنا علما يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلبي على دينك آمين. Surah Nahl, we'll do the third part of the surah, in which we will do from verse number 71 till 95. والله فضل بعضكم على بعض في الرزق فما الذين فضلوا براد رزقهم على ما ملكت أيمانهم وهم فيه سواء أفبنعمة الله يجحدون. Allah has given some of you preference over others in sustenance. Now those who have been granted preference will not give their provision to their slaves so as to make them all equal. Will they still refute Allah's favor? Verse number 72. والله جعل لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا وجعل لكم من أزواجكم بنين وحفظة ورزقكم من الطيبات أفبالباطل يؤمنون وبنعمة الله هم يكفرون. Allah has made spouses for you from yourself, and from these spouses created sons and grandsons, and He has provided for you pure food to eat. Will they believe in falsehood and show ingratitude to Allah's favor? وَيَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَمْلِكُ لَهُمْ رِزْقًا مِنَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ شَيْءٍ وَلَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ. 73. They worship besides Allah things that cannot provide any sustenance for them from the skies, nor from the earth. In fact, they too are incapable of it. فلا تضربوا لله الأمثال إن الله يعلم وأنتم لا تعلمون. So do not cite similitudes about Allah. Allah knows and you do not know. Allah has given some of you preference over others in sustenance. Allah has granted every person a different amount of wealth and riches. If everyone were to be as rich as or to be as rich or as poor as the other, this world will fail to function. The system of employment and production would cease because none could require the other. In this way, man will be deprived of the fruits of his own labor, together with depriving others as well. In the present system, all men are interdependent. One will require another to run his factory, while the other will require the money of the first person to see to his personal needs. In this way, the two will need each other and each one will have this requirement satisfied. Consumers need suppliers and vice versa. Each would be at loss without the other. In this manner, the system of the world continues to function. Allah then says, now those who have been granted preference will now give their provision to their slaves so as to make them all equal. Here Allah reproaches the mushrikeen. Allah informs that just as they do not make their slaves their equals and as they recognize the distinction between master and slave, they should recognize the even sharper distinction between the creator and the creation, the true master and his slave. However, they are absurd enough to ascribe others as equal to Allah. Will they still refute Allah's favor? Although Allah granted them all that they possess, they worship others instead of them. This is the worst of crimes. Thereafter, Allah mentions the boon of spouses and children. Allah says, Allah has made spouses for you from yourself, that is, from the human race, and from these spouses created sons and grandsons. Man then takes pride in his progeny. Together with this bounty, he has provided for you pure food to eat. Allah then says, will they believe in falsehood and show ingratitude to Allah's favor? It is indeed foolish and unmerely that they worship other gods when Allah grants them all they possess. They worship besides Allah things that cannot provide any sustenance for them from the skies, nor from the earth. In fact, they too are incapable of it. This verse also highlights the foolishness of the mushrikeen because instead of worshipping Allah, their creator and sustainer, they worship those things that cannot provide anything for them. So do not cite similitude about Allah. Certain commentators have interpreted this verse to mean that people should not portray any semblance and representation of Allah based on their knowledge of worldly things. This is especially forbidden when such examples of Allah support to idolaters beliefs of the mushrikeen. Other commentators have interpreted the verse to mean that people should not take any other god as the example and duplicate of Allah, thinking that they have any of Allah's qualities. The verse will then contain the same message as the verse, do not ascribe partners to Allah. Allah knows and you do not know. It is foolish to base one's concept of Allah's upon one's knowledge of this creation. Allah knows best what is the reality of His supreme attribution. He is also well aware of the action of the mushrikeen and will punish them accordingly. Verse number 75. ضرب الله مثلا عبدا مملوكا لا يقدر على شيء وما رزقناه منا رزقا حسنا فهو ينفقه منه سرا وجهرا هل يستطيعون الحمد لله بل أكثرهم لا يعلمون. Allah cites the example of a slave in bondage who has no power to do anything. Another is one whom Allah has granted a fair provision and he spends from it secretly and openly. Can the two be equal? All praise be to Allah, but most people do not know. Verse number 76. وَضَرَبَ اللَّهُ مَثَلًا لِلرَّجُلَيْنِ أَحَدُهُمَا أَبْكَمُ لا يقدر على شيء وهو كل على مولاه أينما يوجه يوجه وجه يوجهه لا يأتي بخير هل يستوي هو وما يأمر بالعدل وهو على صراط مستقيم. And Allah cites the similitude of two persons. The one is dumb and is a burden to its guardian. Wherever he is sent, he does not bring any good. Can he be equal to the one who enjoins justice and is open and is upon the straight path? In the above verses, Allah presents two analogies. The first is that of a slave. He has no wealth and can therefore not benefit anyone financially. The other is a person whom Allah has blessed with an abundance of wealth. He spends his wealth on people as and when he pleases. Any sane, any sane person will realize that these two persons can never be equal. It is It is therefore obvious that Allah, who has control over all affairs and possesses all wealth, can never be equated with any of the creation. The creation, even collectively, cannot do what Allah does. This illustration clearly depicts the reality of the matter. Any thinking person will perceive the error of shirk by pondering over them. The only exceptions will be those who blindly follow the deviate way of their forefathers or who refuse to accept the truth for fear of losing some worldly benefits. Therefore, it is obvious that all praise is for Allah. The second example given by Allah is that of a person who is dumb. This mute person cannot care even for himself, let alone be of service to others. Allah says, wherever he is sent, he does not bring any good, neither can be understood what he is being told, nor can he convey the message to the opposite party. Allah then says, can he be equal to the one who has the ability to speak so that he enjoins justice? Besides being able to convince others, he also practices what he preaches because he is upon the straight path. Again, the reply is obvious that the second person is better. If a person can understand this, he can easily understand that no being, especially lifeless idols, can ever be equated to Allah. Verse number 77. وَلِلَّهِ غَيْبُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا أَمْرُ السَّاعَةِ إِلَّا كَلَمْحِ الْبَصَرِ أَوْ هُوَ أَقْرَبُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. To Allah belongs the unseen affairs of the heavens and the earth. The affair of Qiyamah is just like a blink of the eye, or even closer. Really, Allah has power over all things. After explaining some proofs pertaining to Tawheed, Allah affirms His all encompassing knowledge. He has that He possesses the knowledge of every detail in the universe, whether it is apparent to man or not. The knowledge of the advent of Qiyamah is exclusive to Allah, and it will appear as quickly as the blink of the eye or even closer. Really, Allah has power over all things. This phrase refutes the surprise that certain kuffar express at the advent of resurrection. Allah informs them that there is no cause for surprise because nothing is impossible for Him. Allah has mentioned this belief in Qiyamah because it is necessary that one believes in this aspect together with the belief in Tawheed. Verse number 78. وَاللَّهَ أَخْرَجَكُمْ مِنْ بَطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ شَيْءٍ وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. 78. Allah removes you from the wombs of your mothers when you knew nothing, and bestowed you with ears, eyes, and hearts so that you may be grateful. 79. ألم يروا إلى الطير مسخرات في جو السماء ما يمسكهن إلا الله إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يؤمنون. Have they not seen the birds subjugated in mid-air? Only Allah suspends them in the air. Indeed, there are signs in this for the believers. والله جعل لكم من بيوتكم سكنا وجعل لكم من جلود الأنعام بيوتا تستخفونها يوم ظعنكم ويوم إقامتكم ومن أصوافها وآبارها وأشعارها أثاثا ومتاعا إلى حين. And Allah has granted you an abode in your homes, and made homes for you from the hide of animals, which you find light when you travel, and when you pitch camp, there is furniture and other things derived from their wool, their fur and their hair, which profit you for a period. والله جعل لكم مما خلق ظلالا وجعل لكم من الجبال أكنانا وجعل لكم سرابيل تقيكم الحر وسرابيل تقيكم بأسكم كذلكم يتم نعمته عليكم لعلكم تسلمون. Of the things that Allah has created, He has made those things that provide shade. He has also made for you places of refuge in the mountains, and made courts for you that protect you from the heat, and courts that protect you in battle. Thus does He complete His bounty on you so that you may surrender. وَإِن تَوَلُّوا فَإِنَّمَا عَلَيْكَ الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ. 82. If they turn away, then your only responsibility is clear propagation. يَعْرِفُونَ نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ يُنْكِرُونَهَا وَأَكْثَرُهُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. 83. They recognize Allah's bounty, yet they refute it, and most of them are ungrateful. Allah mentions numerous bounties and signs depicting Tawheed in the foregoing verses. These are 1. Allah removed you from the wombs of your mother when you knew nothing. Therefore, thereafter, He granted you intelligence and knowledge and bestowed you with ears, eyes, and hearts so that you may be grateful by worshipping only Him. 2. Have they not seen the birds subjugated in midair, sorry. Only Allah suspends them in the air. The birds seem to be affected by the force of gravity exerted by the earth. By the mere movement of their wings, they are able to maneuver in the sky with the great ease. Man cannot achieve this feat by flapping his arms, even if he attaches feathers to them. Despite this weakness of man, Allah has granted him the intelligence and ability to create such machines with which he can outstrip any bird in flight. Altitude and distance, together with carrying tons of goods with them, it is needed the bounty of Allah that He has placed the control of these massive machines at the control of a single pilot. Allah then reminds man, indeed there are signs in this for the believers. 3. And Allah has granted you an abode in your homes. Some homes are constructed from bricks, others from sand, others from rocks, while some are even made of ice. The roofs are also made from various materials, all of which have been created by Allah. Allah has also made homes for you from the hides of animals, which you find light, and when you travel and when you pitch camp. In this verse, Allah refers to tents which man uses these on his travel, making the journey easy and convenient. 4. There is furniture and other things derived from their wool, their fur, and their hair, which profit you for a period. If Allah had willed, He could have made the skins of animals impossible to remove, or He could have made them without wool and hide. If this were the case, man would not have derived the benefits from them than he does. 5. Of the things that Allah has created, He has made those things that provide shade. These includes a wide range of things like the trees, mountains, and buildings. 6. He has also made for you places of refuge in the mountains. This refers to caves, caravans, and homes that are carved out of mountains. 7. And made coats for you that protect you from the heat. Allah has created the materials required for making clothing like cotton, wool, etc. Plastic, nylon, and other modern day materials are all derived from natural substances created by Allah. Allah has mentioned that He has also created those things that you have no knowledge of. Therefore, whatever new discoveries and inventions may occur in the future are all from Allah. Although Allah has only mentioned that He has created apparel to protect man from the heat, ulama explained that protection from cold has not been mentioned because it is automatically understood from the mention of heat. Other commentators state that protection from cold has not been mentioned in this verse because it is already mentioned in verse 5 of this surah, where Allah mentioned, and He created the animals for you. In them is warmth for you, other benefits, and from them do you eat. Allah continues to say that He created for man the essentials to make coats that protect you in battle. This referred the coat of armor and other protective clothing used in warfare. At the end of this verse, Allah says, thus does He complete His bounty on you so that you may surrender. If they turn away, then your only responsibility is clear propagation. This verse exhorts Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam not to grieve over the disbelief of the kuffar, but to continue with his task of propagation. They recognize Allah's bounty, yet they refute it, and most of them are ungrateful. The greatest form of ingratitude is kufr. The kuffar refuse to submit to Allah despite the fact that He provides for them and shows them with innumerable bounties. Verse number 84. وَيَوْمَ نَبْعَثُ مِنْ كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ شَهِيدًا ثُمَّ لَا يُؤْذَنُ لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا وَلَا هُمْ يُسْتَعْتَبُونَ. The day when we shall rise a witness from every nation, then the disbelievers will not be granted permission, nor will they be allowed to satisfy Allah. Verse number 84. Now, the verse number is 85. وَإِذَا رَأَى الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا الْعَذَابَ فَلَا يُخَفَّفُ عَنْهُمْ وَلَا هُمْ يُنظَرُونَ. When the oppressors see the punishment, it will not be lightened for them, nor will they be granted respite. وَإِذَا رَأَى الَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا شُرَكَاءَهُمْ قَالُوا رَبَّنَا هؤلاء شركاؤنا الذين كنا ندعو من دونك فألقوا عليهم القول إنكم لكاذبون. When the idolaters will see their partners, they will exclaim, O our Rabb, these are our partners that we used to worship instead of you. Then the word will be flung back to them that you are definitely liars. Verse number 87. وَأَلْقُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ يَوْمَئِذٍ الظَّلَمَ وَضَلَّ عَنْهُمْ مَا كَانُوا يَفْتَرُونَ. They will propose a truce with Allah on that day, and whatever they used to fabricate will be lost to them. الذين كفروا وصدوا عن سبيل الله زدناهم عذابا فوق العذاب بما كانوا يفسدون. For those who disbelieve and forbid others from Allah's path, we shall add punishment to their punishment because of the corruption that they caused. Now, verse number 89. وَيَوْمَ نَبْعَثُ فِي كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ شَهِيدًا عَلَيْهِمْ مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَجِئْنَا بِكَ شَهِيدًا عَلَى هَؤُلَاءِ وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبْيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَهُدًى وَرَحْمَةً وَبُشْرَى لِلْمُسْلِمِينَ. The day when we shall raise against every nation a witness from their midst, and we shall make you witness over them. We have revealed the book to you that explains all things to you and is a guidance, a mercy, and a glad tidings for those who submit. Allah says, the day when we shall raise a witness from every nation, these witnesses will be the Anbiya alayhi salam, who will testify to the kuffar and evil deeds of the people. Allah continues to say, then the disbelievers will not be granted permission to plead their case and make excuses, nor will they be allowed to testify Allah. The opportunity to please Allah is granted only in this world, not in the hereafter. When the oppressors see the punishment, it will not be lightened for them, nor will they be granted respite. When the idolaters will see their partners, their false gods, they will exclaim, O our Rabb, these are our partners that we used to worship instead of you. Then the word will be flung back to them that you are definitely liars. The same God that they worshipped will call them liars, thereby inoculating themselves from them. Qurtubi, volume 10, page 163, writes that Allah shall grant the idols the power to speak. They will inform those who worship them that they lied when they called them, the idols, God. These idols will admit to the people that they were helpless, adding that they never instructed that they will be worshipped. When the kuffar and mushrikeen will realize that they cannot escape from the punishment of Jahannam, they will plead to Allah to save them and will be prepared to do anything in return. However, it will be too late. when they already destroyed their opportunities in this world by denying the Anbiya alayhi salam and their teachings. Allah says they will propose a truce with Allah on that day, and whatever they use to fabricate will be lost to them. Their false gods will not be able to help them at all. Allah then speaks of the intensified punishment of Jahannam when He says, for those who disbelieve and forbid others from Allah's path, we shall add punishment to their punishment because of the corruption that they caused. The day when we shall raise against every nation a witness from their midst, and we shall make you witness over them, as was discussed in Surah Baqarah. The Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam be summoned as witness to the testimony of the Anbiya alayhi salam against their respective ummah. Thereafter, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself will testify to the veracity of his ummah. According to other commentators, this verse means that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will testify to the truthfulness of the others Anbiya alayhi salam. We have revealed the book Quran to you that explains all things to you. The Quran contains all the guidelines and fundamental principles of deen. While Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam explained the detail of these, adherence to the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has been ordained in the Quran itself. Allah says, say, obey Allah and the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Verse number 32. And the surah number is 2, that is Surah Al Imran. No, that is, the number is 3. Allah says in another verse, whoever obeys the messenger has obeyed Allah, and whoever turns away, we have not sent you, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as a warder over them. Surah Nisa, verse number 80. Another verse reads, hold fast to what the messenger gives you, and refrain from what he prevents you. Verse number 7, Surah Hashr. Allah says in verse 115 of Surah Nisa, that, and the number of the surah is 4 in the Quran, whoever opposes the messenger after the guidance has become manifest to him and follows a path other than that of the believers, we shall allow him to do that which he is doing, and then enter him into Jahannam. It is the worst of abodes. This verse explains the importance of adhering to ijma, consensus of the Ummah. It is binding on every Muslim to follow the laws derived by the Sahaba Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhum and the true scholars after them regarding current matters. They base their analogies upon the guidelines taught by the Quran and the Hadith. It is not permissible to draw analogies and formulate laws when such laws have been clearly defined in the Quran. This will only be done when the Quran and the Sunnah do not contain clear injunctions with regard to a particular matter, because the matter at hand is something that is new. The Quran states, ask those of knowledge if you do not know. This verse teaches us to refer to men of knowledge when we have no knowledge regarding any affair. It is therefore necessary that people refer to the scholars of deen, especially the eminent jurists, when they require to know something about deen. Thereafter, Allah mentions another few attributes of the Quran. He says that it is also a guidance, a mercy, and a glad tidings for those who submit. Those who submit, that is, Muslims, receive these benefits from the Quran because any practice the injunctions of the Quran, thereby becoming truly worthy of the bounties of the hereafter. Verse number 90. Inna Allaha ya'muru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i zil qurba wa yanha anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal baghyi ya'izukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. Verily, Allah instructs justice, ihsan, and giving no relatives, and Allah forbids lewdness, evil, and oppression. He advises you so that you may take heed. The above verse is extremely concise, yet it encompasses all good deeds and forbids practically all that is undesirable. The first instruction given in this verse is the practice justice. Allah says in Surah Maida, be just. It is closer to piety. A Muslim has to be just with his peer, his superiors, and his subordinates. He also has to be just when dealing with his enemies. He cannot transgress their rights and should rather forgive them for the transgressions that they perpetrate against him. Another meaning of the Arabic word adl, justice, is moderation. A discussion of moderation is given in the commentary of verse 142 of Surah Baqarah, where Allah says, thus we have made you such a group that is moderate in nature. According to the author of Ruhul Mani, moderation refers to the midpoint between the extremes of negligence and excessive behavior. Abi Ibn Abi Hatim Rahmullah has reported from Muhammad bin Ka'b Qurayzi Rahmullah that Hazrat Umar bin Abdul Aziz Rahmullah asked him, what was the beginning of Adl? He replied, you have indeed asked something very great. He then went to explain the meaning by saying, Adl means that you are the father of a small person, the son of a big person, and the brother of a moderate person. You punish people according to their crimes and according to the tolerance of their bodies, and you should not lay single lash out of anger. If you do so, you will be perpetrating an injustice. Hazrat Sufyan bin Yuhayna Rahmullah has mentioned that adl means that a person's action be equal in public and in private. The second command that Allah issues is that of ihsan. It means that a person carries out all actions properly and with care. He should ensure that his acts of devotion as well as his dealings with people are decorated with the quality of ihsan. One should refer to the commentary of the verse 195 of Surah Baqarah, where Allah says, do things well, for certainly Allah loves those who do things well. The third command issued by Allah is to spend on one's relatives. Although this act is also included in the instruction of ihsan, it is repeated because of the act that a person will receive doubt the reward for spending on his family and relatives. He, as opposed to when he spent on others, he will receive the reward of joining family ties in addition to the reward of spending in charity. This verse also serves to remind those who maintain favorable relationship with everyone except their relatives. The relatives will include all family members, be they as close as one's parents and or as far as one's cousin. At times it is obligatory to spend on them, and at times it will be optional. The details can be found in the books of Islamic jurisprudence. After commanding that the above virtues he practiced, Allah forbids certain vices. The first of these in the prohibition against lewdness, although this will be included in the general meaning of the word evil. It is mentioned separately for emphasis. This includes all deeds and talks that are rude, immoral, and related to sensuality. All these actions that lead to these are similar prohibited. The word oppression includes all those deeds and actions that constitute injustice, including rebellion against the Amirul Mu'minin, stealing, harming parents, or refusing people their rights. Allah says in Surah Hujurat, if two groups of believers fight each other, then reconcile between them. If one group transgresses against the other, then fight that transgressing group until they return to Allah's command. If they return, they reconcile between them with justice. Be Just for Allah loves those who exercise justice. Verse number 9. Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala reports a hadith in which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that from all sins, those that most deserve their perpetrator to be swiftly punished in this world are operation, transgression, and the severeness of family ties. Narrated by Mishkat, page 420. Hazrat Abdullah bin Masood anhu has mentioned that the above verse is most comprehensive in mentioning good and evil as opposed to any other verse of the Quran. This is so because it enjoins every good and forbids every evil. At the end, Allah says that He advises you that you may take heed. This reminds people that they should not consider themselves absolved of responsibility by merely reciting the verse. They should now practice it. Really, Allah instructs justice, ihsan, and giving to relatives, and Allah forbids lewdness, evil, and oppression. He advises you so that you may take heed. Allama Suyuti Rahmullah has recorded in his book Tariqul Khulafa that the Khalifas of the Umayyad dynasty used to reveal Hazrat Ali Raziallah Ta'ala in the Friday sermon khutbah. However, when Hazrat Umar bin Abdul Aziz Rahmullah assumed the reign of Khulafa, he forbade all his governors from doing this and ordered them to substitute this practice with the above verse of the Quran. Since then, it has been the practice of people throughout the world to include this verse in the khutbah. However, it is advisable to omit the verse from the khutbah occasionally so that people do not regard it as a compulsory practice. Now, I'll read from verse number 91 till 95. وَأَوْفُوا بِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ إِذَا عَاهَدتُّمْ وَلَا تَنْقُضُوا الْإِيمَانَ بَعْدَ تَوْكِيدِهِ وَقَدْ جَعَلْتُمُ اللَّهَ عَلَيْكُمْ كَفِيلًا إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَعْلَمُ مَا تَفْعَلُونَ. Fulfill Allah's pledge when you have made the pledge, and do not breach your oaths after solemnizing them. When you have already made Allah witness upon yourself, indeed Allah knows what you do. ولا تكونوا كالتي نقضت غزلها من بعد قوة أنكثا تتخذون إيمانكم دخلا بينكم تكون أمة هي أربى من أمتي إنما يبلوكم الله به ولا يبينن لكم يوم القيامة ما كنتم فيه تختلفون. Translation: Do not be like the woman who shredded her spun yarn to tread after strengthening it. You make your oaths to mean of causing strife between you because a nation is larger in number than another. The fact of the matter is that Allah only tests you by it, and on the day of judgment He will certainly explain to you the matters in which you differed. ولو شاء الله لجعلكم أمة واحدة ولكن يضل من يشاء ويهدي من يشاء ولا تسألن عما كنتم تعملون. If Allah willed, He would have made you a single nation, but He sends astray whomsoever He wills and guides whomsoever He wills. You will definitely be questioned concerning what you do. وَلَا تَتَّخِذُوا أَيْمَانَكُمْ دَخَلًا بَيْنَكُمْ فَتَزِلَّ قَدَمٌ بَعْدَ ثُبُوتِهَا وَتَذُوقُوا السُّوءَ بِمَا صَدَدتُّمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَلَكُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. Do not make your oaths a mean of causing strife between you so as to make a foot slip after gaining stability, and so as to make you taste the punishment of forbidding from Allah's path. Yours shall be an intense punishment. وَلَا تَشْتَرَوْا بِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ ثَمَنًا قَلِيلًا إِنَّمَا عِندَ اللَّهِ هُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Do not procure a mm, paltry sum in exchange for man's covenant. What Allah has is better for you if you but knew. Although the fulfillment of oaths and covenants is included in the previous command of Adl and Ihsan, it is mentioned separately in these verses so that people realize their importance and pay heed to them. Oaths are usually taken when a pledge is made, and these pledges can result in spreading strife and corruption. It is for this reason that Allah says, "Do not make your oath a means of causing strife between you." Allah says, fulfill Allah's pledge when you have made the pledge. This refers to the pledge of Islam, that is submission of Allah's command and abstention from the things that He has prohibited. And do not breach your oaths after solemnizing them, although it is imperative that even those pledges are fulfilled that have not been solemnized by means of an oath. The solemnized ones are specifically mentioned here for emphasis. They should be given due regard since Allah's name has been placed between. When you have already made Allah witness upon yourself, indeed Allah knows what you do. When an oath is taken, the parties have intentionally made Allah a witness to their pledge, even though Allah is always a witness to everything. Other commentators have translated the verse to mean that Allah is a protector over you instead of witness upon yourself. They interpret the verse to mean that by taking the pledge and abiding by it, they will remain in Allah's protection. However, should they fail to observe the clauses of the pledge, Allah's protection is no longer binding. Now, He may punish them for the breach of pledge or forgive them. Do not be like the woman who shredded her spun yarn to threads after strengthening it. According to the commentators, this verse is mentioned as an example of those who breach their pledges. Their act is just as foolish as the woman who destroyed the garment that she made after working hard at spinning the yarn and preparing it. Narrated by Qurtubi, Volume 10, page 171. Reports that there are women in Makkah by the name of Rabita who used to do what is described in the verse. In author's opinion, the verse alludes to many laws besides that of breaking a pledge. It could refer to abruptly terminating one's salah, fast, hajj, and umrah after beginning these. It could also refer to deserting the battlefield in jihad. In this manner, it could also refer to many other deeds. At the same time, it could also refer to perpetrating those actions that cause the reward of other deeds to be destroyed. I have searched other books of tafsir for the interpretation that the author has made, but have not found this anywhere. Author had written it here considering it to be from the inspiration received from Allah. All knowledge belongs to Allah. You make your oath a meaning of causing strife between you because a nation is larger in number than another. It was customary among the Arab tribes that they used to enter into territories with other tribes so that the two would be allied to each other in times of war. However, when any tribe felt that their allied tribe was too small, it would annul the treaty and align itself with a larger tribe. Allah refers to the oath taken when allying to the first smaller tribe as an oath that is a meaning of causing strife between you. The fact of the matter is that Allah only tests you by it. That is, Allah tests you by commanding you to fulfill your pledges. Or according to the other commentators, He tests you by presenting another stronger tribe before you. In this way, Allah will see whether you remain true to your original allies or whether you desert them to join force with a stronger tribe. A treaty may be annuled with another party when it is feared that they may be treacherous or for any other valid reason. However, there are conditions attached to this. These have been mentioned in the commentary of verse 58 of Surah Anfal, where Allah says, "Should you ever really fear betrayal from any nation, they threw back the treaty that you have contracted with them, so that the two of you are on an equal footing. Verily, Allah does not like those who betray." Allah continues to say, "And on the day of judgment he will certainly explain to you the matters in which you differed. In the hereafter, Allah will immensely reward those who stood for the truth, while the others will suffer punishment. They will then come to know who were right and who were not. If Allah willed, He would have made you a single nation, but He sends astray whomsoever He willed and guides whomsoever He will. Allah could have ironed out all differences between people if He wished to do so. However, His infinite wisdom dictates that these should exist between man. Now, man has been bestowed with the intelligence to discern between right and wrong. Accordingly, he has been given the choice to act. He will be taken to task for the choice that he makes. None should consider himself to be like a paralyzed person who is helpless to act. You will all definitely be questioned concerning what you do. None should think that his action go unnoticed in this world. Every person will be accountable for this action. He will have to reply for the pledges that he broke and the oaths that he did not fulfill. Do not make your oath a mean of causing strife between you, so as to make a foot slip after gaining stability, and so as to make you taste the punishment of forbidding from Allah's path. Yours shall be an intense punishment by breaching the covenant taken with the Allah and His Nabi. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a person will become a kafir and will be worthy of the worst of punishments. If he breaks a pledge with another person, he will be guilty of treachery and betrayal. Although this will not be amount to kufr, yet it is extremely grave and really tragic slip of the foot. The Mu'mineen should ensure that they never cause their foothold in Islam to slip. They should never fall into the pits of sin and vice and thereby subject themselves to the worst punishment in the hereafter. The author of Malumat-e-Tanzil, volume 3, page 84, has reported from certain ulama that the interpretation of the verse is that when people break covenants, they pave the way for others to do the same. By doing this, they will be actually forbidding others from Allah's way, that is, from fulfilling pledges. It is for this reason that they will taste the punishment of forbidding from Allah's path. So as to make a foot slip after gaining stability, explaining this part of the verse, some commentators have mentioned that betrayal after swearing by Allah and causing strife jeopardize the iman. People stand to lose their iman by using Allah's name to deceive others. In other parts of the Quran, Allah has also emphasized the importance of fulfilling pledges. Allah says in Surah Maida, "O you who believe, fulfill your pledges." He says in Surah An-Nahl, "Fulfill the covenant of Allah." Verse 34 of Surah Isra, that is the number of the surah is 17 in the Quran, reads, "And fulfill the pledge, certainly questioning shall take place concerning pledges." Allah then says, "Do not procure a paltry sum in exchange of Allah's covenant. What Allah has, it is better for you if you but knew." This verse prohibits that one acquires some worldly benefit of breaking his pledge, especially when it involves accepting bribes and ill-gotten wealth, narrated by Qurtubi. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has mentioned that the giver of a bribe, the taker, and the one who communicates between the two are all accursed. Even the salaries of those who accept bribes for favors done in their field of work is haram. This is so because they are acting contrary to what they are employed to do, thereby being unworthy of the remuneration they receive from their employers. In our times, politicians are renowned for breaking promises once they ascend to their desired post. Even Muslim politicians are prone to this. When they attain to positions, they forget the oaths that they swore by Allah while campaigning. Their concern then is only for themselves. It should be borne in mind that the wealth acquired by breaching an oath is totally insignificant in comparison to the rewards of the hereafter. The greater the position of a person, the greater will be suffer for breaking his pledge in the hereafter. Hazrat Abu Sa'id Raziallahu Ta'ala anhu has narrated that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, on the day of judgment, every traitor will have a flag. The length of his flag will be proportionate to extent of his treason, and it will stand out of his anus. No treason can be worse than that which is perpetrated by a leader against his subject. Hazrat Maqil bin Yasir Raziallahu Ta'ala anhu reported that the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, Allah will make Jahannam haram for the person who dies in the condition that he betrays people after being appointed as their leader. According to another narration, the person who is appointed as leader to even a few persons without seeing to their welfare will be deprived of smelling the fragrance of Jannah, narrated by Mishkat, page number 32. واخر دعوانا ان الحمد لله رب العالمين اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.